And welcome to the Oakland County Megacast in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM, our flagship stations. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Ronnie Dahl. In addition, today, we are also on Birmingham Area Municipal Access, also on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, as well as on 88.1 WBFH, The Biff, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. And, as always, on the web, civiccentertv.com. Click on the Watch Live link or join us on the small player on our homepage, as well as lakesfm.com. And on Facebook today via Facebook Live with our good friends over at the Orchard Mall. We'll be joined by their property manager, Kelly Woodley, later on in the 10 o'clock hour. And as always, joining me today in the Lakes FM studios is Ronnie Dahl.
Tyler, would it be weird if I went through Starbucks and just ordered a glass of their water?
It'd be a little bit odd. I'm sure it would be something I don't get very often. But look, if you're that thirsty and you have no other access to water on your way there and you can't stop because you got to get in to work, you got to get point A to point B, then sure, stop for water. If you really are that thirsty, it's better than sitting there gasping, needing some water.
No, it's something about Starbucks. They have really good
That's special water?
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think they said they filter it like 3 times or something, but I always love to get a big cup of ice cold water from Starbucks. But sometimes then you feel like, oh, well, let me get a coffee. But today I didn't want coffee, so I was going to get tea, and then they didn't have the tea I liked, and I was like, oh.
So they had to go for water. It's the last choice there.
Can I just get a water?
Yeah. Maybe there used to be a running gag here between Jake, our booking producer, Ryan, another video producer on our team, and I, where we were talking about because once I think Ryan came in with a bottle of that Fiji water, those bottles, and our joke. Okay, you got one right there. Yeah, our joke with that is that it's never been touched by human hands. That's why it's so pure. Never been touched by human hands. Maybe that's the same thing with the Starbucks water. It's special. It's never been touched by human hands.
So, looks like the bird maybe found its way out of the building. So we've had a bird flying around here at Civic Center TV for a few days. And sometimes you can hear him flapping around.
You can, yeah. We never know where this bird has been. We thought it's flown out of the building a couple of times. Then we've left at night and patrolled the whole building, trying to find the bird, making some noise, trying to get it to fly around, see if we can even hear it just flapping its wings. Nothing. And we come in yesterday morning, and it was still here. But this bird, which we, of course, in honor of our Cable Commission Executive Director, have named Dave Allbirdy. No sign of Dave Allbirdy today in the building.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so silly.
Yeah, we have some birds.
So Tyler, we've had this bird. It's a robin that is been living in the tree outside our kitchen window. But for, I want to say the last week, it is constantly running into the window. And so we're like, we don't know if it's a reflection or what's happening. So we try to put things up or bring the blind down. We're trying everything because we're worried that this little bird is going to hurt its beak. But it keeps just running in over and over and over, and you can hear it, and then it will go back into the tree and then do another beeline for the window again.
And is it just like the window, and then you're clearly seeing into the home, and it has some depth there through a clear window, or is there something there like blinds that would be a natural stoppage, I would say?
Well, we have the blinds up to a certain degree, and so we have tried to put things there because we were like, oh, maybe the bird is seeing a reflection or something of that nature, so that we could maybe make it darker so that the bird wouldn't be doing that, but you still hear the bird. And I know they say, cardinals, if you get a visit, if you see a cardinal, it's supposed to be a sign of a visit from someone in heaven. Well, someone from heaven is just camped out outside our window for
what does it say? What does it say, though, when someone from heaven in the form of a cardinal is giving themselves a concussion on a daily basis to visit you? Is that still a good sign, or is it an odd sign, or would that be a negative? Because I don't know. It's slamming. I feel like slamming into your window on a daily basis is sending quite the message.
So, of course, you can Google everything today.
Of course.
Tradition believes that the bird hitting your window is just a messenger. Some believe the bird carries a goodwill message. Ooh. While others believe it's a message of death. Well, if the bird
that's
keeps
good.
hitting our window, eventually it might die.
Might want to be more careful. I mean, that's why you got to go with the Starbucks water, just to be extra careful about its purity if you have a potential death message coming from above from the cardinal.
Yeah, but again, like we've been trying to do anything and everything just to,
Of course.
so the bird doesn't keep flying into
Right.
the window. So I don't know, maybe that bird needs to meet up with the bird hanging out here at Civic Center
Yeah,
TV.
maybe they could maybe teach each other a couple things about some basic safety.
Hey, we made it to Friday though.
We did.
It's great. It's great. Yesterday, it's been cold, but at least the sun is shining today. That's the good news. Still going to be cold over the weekend, but then they're saying, Tyler, Monday, Tuesday, it looks like we could get up to 60 degrees.
Yeah, I did. I saw in the weather report the potential for 60 degrees early to mid next week, and I'm excited for that. It's going to be sunny that day, too. I think that's on Tuesday, and there happens to be a meeting cancellation here, so it's going to be a nice afternoon, and maybe the first little bit of outside hoop shooting on Tuesday afternoon.
There you go. Get out, play some basketball.
That's the plan.
Hey, jumping into the headlines, the Oakland County Health Division announced Thursday it's going to be partnering with Ready Nursing Solutions to assist the county with administering a COVID-19 vaccine to long-term care staff, as well as residents and homebound seniors. So the Oakland County Health Division reports that more than 101,000 Oakland County residents 65 years and older have already received their first dose, and all of 23,000 school personnel on the Health Division's Save Your Spot list have received their first dose as well, or they have been offered an appointment. So there are about 70 long-term care centers here in Oakland County that need COVID-19 vaccine because they are not covered by the federal contract with Walgreens and CVS. So the Oakland County Health Division has administered COVID vaccine at 36 of these facilities so far, even as it operates multiple vaccine clinics 7 days a week throughout the county. This is one of those areas where they fall through the cracks on trying to get the vaccine to some of the people that need them the most. And Oakland County is really leading the way across the entire state and getting the shots into the arms of the people that need it.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job keeping an efficient system rolling and really finding those problem areas and trying to figure out fast but efficient solutions to take care of some of those problems, particularly in this case with seniors, as it has been said in this article. Out of the 70 long-term care facilities, the county's been in 36, so they're more than halfway through, but we're a couple months now into the vaccine process, and they're bringing in some extra help, especially as we start to have more people become eligible for these vaccines. They want to make sure, it seems from this effort, that these seniors, especially these homebound seniors and in these long-term care facilities, are not forgotten along the way, and they have some of them fall through the cracks, especially as we've seen throughout this pandemic that these have been people that are at a higher risk of severe COVID-19 cases.
So I don't know if you've seen this. It's kind of made news a few places. There are these volunteer groups, and they've started up Facebook pages, and they're like vaccine hunters, where they will just try to work. They volunteer their time to track down vaccines for some of our seniors, because I know Rite Aid is now going to start dispersing the shot here in the state of Michigan. But again, you can only do the appointment online. You can't do it over the phone or in person. We have to remember there is a large population still, especially seniors, that do not have access, or maybe they're not comfortable with using the internet as well. So some of these volunteers are kind of stepping in and trying to fill these gaps to hunt down and make appointments for some of the people falling in between the cracks of trying to get this vaccine.
Yeah, and this has always been a community effort. All that we've done during the COVID-19 pandemic to help one another and to protect one another. And this vaccine process is complicated. There's a lot of different places that you can sign up for a vaccine. There's a lot to weed through to get that information out there correctly and to put people in a position to not only be signed up but efficiently going through the programs. And so helping people find different places, safe places, and reputable places to sign up for vaccination and move themselves up in line is extremely helpful. And it's not something that we can necessarily always rely on local government for, because they do have their heads in so many other places managing the pandemic and regular operations on top of that. So having these these community efforts that are really just trying to help neighbors out is really important.
But the U.S., one way that they do believe they're going to have enough of the vaccine for every adult by May. So vaccine experts welcome President Joe Biden's accelerated timeline for distribution. They offered some caution, though, about whether the companies can reach their promised doses and delivery dates, because while there's never 100% certainty in manufacturing, pharmaceutical manufacturing is especially finicky and demanding because the process is complex and there are so many variables that go into manufacturing the vaccines. But Biden did say Tuesday there is going to be enough COVID-19 vaccine available in May for every adult in the United States, nearly 2 months earlier than his administration predicted just 3 weeks ago. And of course, this has to do with the deal that was brokered between a couple of the pharmaceutical giants to try to get more of the vaccine made and distributed. So to get there, officials plan on like 400 million doses from Moderna and the Pfizer, enough to vaccinate 200 million people, plus an additional 100 million doses of the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So that is more than enough for the nation's 255 million adults. So I think the more it becomes widely available, of course, then once everyone has the ability to get the shot, then I think the next focus will be on how long is that shot good for, and does it work against the variants?
Yeah, we've heard already throughout this process that there is a likelihood there are going to be boosters that will need to be distributed to the public too as more of these variants pop up. And that also is going to depend on factors outside of the U.S. It's really going to be dependent on that, because the U.S. being fully vaccinated and reopened is one thing, but as that interaction with other nations begins again, as other nations fall behind in their vaccination process or are not able to keep up with some of the larger and wealthier nations like the U.S., like the U.K., with their vaccination process, more of these variants can pop up, and then you have more of those variants to have to navigate around to make sure that the vaccinations we already have, the shots already in people's arms, are still safe against those, so we don't end up back in this position. So having these extra vaccines out there in a quicker motion, getting through this process will certainly help the medical community should they be able to get through. But as we said, take that with a grain of salt, because these are really finicky processes. These are very intricate step-by-step processes of developing these vaccines and manufacturing them. And like we've seen before, if one thing in the process goes wrong, whether it be not the correct refrigeration temperature for a certain period of time, or some parts in the manufacturing are not entirely proper, then those vaccines are spent and the process has to restart. So there are variables in this, but still exciting news.
We talked a little bit about this next headline yesterday, Tyler. A business coalition calls on Whitmer to lift the restrictions for offices. Business leaders are calling on Governor ease the restrictions across Michigan with safety measures in place by April 14th. That's the day the emergency rules banning in-office work it's set to expire. So the state said Thursday it was very likely the rules would be extended past April 14th while the agency creates a permanent plan for employees to return to workplaces. In the meantime, businesses are welcome to bring employees into the office if it isn't feasible for them to work from home. So there's some clarification issues in some of these rules and these orders that have people questioning what arena they should go. So the effort to stop the emergency rule extension was announced Thursday by the Reopen Michigan Safety. It's a new business coalition that includes the Michigan Chamber of Commerce and other chambers across the state, as well as the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber, which we talked to Joe yesterday. The group argued businesses were losing jobs permanently because of the restrictions from the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration, whose 6-month order prohibiting most in-person work in office is set to expire on the 14th of April. The State Department of Health and Human Services also has a ban on non-essential in-office work that can be done from home, but that order is not as long-lasting as the prospect of another 6-month extension on the order from MIOSHA.
Yeah, these businesses are really looking to get these people back in the office. They believe, as we heard yesterday from Joe Bauman and in his Chamber of Commerce, much like the other chambers that are in this coalition, they believe that if we can have safe, limited operations in restaurants and in shops and in other places of business, then there isn't any reason why an office that already had to submit plans for operating safely in person during the COVID-19 pandemic previously in the pandemic early on can't execute those plans safely right now and still be under similar supervision as these other businesses. That being said, if there's not an abundant reason to have people in these offices, and it's safer to have work continue to be somewhat remote or entirely remote, then there's also very good reason to maintain that.
Well, and here's the hard part. It's, hey, you can bring back people if they can't work from home. Sure. That's hard to argue if your work from home situation, for some people, it's been a better situation for them. They have been able to emerge those worlds, and they're a bit more productive and things of that nature. But for other people, it's not so easy for them to do it. Maybe their setup at home is different, or their kids are at home too, and they're trying to teach them at the same time. So there are a lot of different nuances to some of these orders, and it can be tricky for the businesses to try to read the orders and do the best thing.
Yeah, and there has to be some middle ground there where you can have that openness to have people back in the office with precautions in place, with rules in place, and with options for employees should they believe that their employers are not taking this as seriously, to be able to report that to the powers that be to make sure that is checked. But at the same time, you also have to manage that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. There are going to be employees that have been doing work just fine at home that are not going to be comfortable yet coming back into an office environment. So there has to be a way to enforce or to at least legalize a method for employees to say, listen, I'm not quite comfortable yet coming back in person. My productivity is not down by being at home, and in fact is up in some cases. I'm not ready to come back yet, but anyone else that's ready to come back, sure, come back in with rules in place to continue to prevent the spread of COVID-19 while this pandemic continues.
Well, I think one of the things that could be hard for some of these businesses, you are reopening so many new sectors of our economy. Of course, today, Friday, the bars and restaurants, the new rules go in place. They are now allowed to be open at 50% capacity with that 11 o'clock curfew. Gyms, the capacity is increased, I believe, from, was it 20% to now 30%?
Yes, I believe.
Retail is up to 50%. So, there are some changes that go into effect today. So if you're a business and you have people that can be socially distanced in an office setting, it kind of sends those mixed messages. Well, if we can go out to eat safely, or we could go to a casino, then why can't I have my employees back in the office? Yeah,
and all the more reason to have this at least be something that's considered, but also have provisions in place so that those that aren't comfortable can remain in the spot where they're still productive and they still are able to do their jobs, but not potentially put their health or their loved one's health at risk.
So we are also seeing right now, Tyler, some states are starting to remove the mask mandate. Texas being one of them, I believe. Is it Mississippi that's going to be joining them as well?
Yeah, I believe so. It's neighboring states are close together.
Yeah, and I do believe Ohio, the governor, DeWine, I saw a tweet from him this week saying if the numbers continue to stay low, he's going to lift the restrictions in the state of Ohio as well. So some people, of course, are saying, wait a minute, we're not ready for that yet. We're going to see the numbers go back up. But, keep in mind, back in the beginning, this was about not so much just stopping the spread, but keeping the numbers down at our hospitals so that the healthcare system didn't become overwhelmed.
We've seen time and time again throughout this pandemic, as the numbers start to look better, as those spikes start to come down, and really across the board, we have less cases, or at least we are at a percentage of positive cases that are in the range of little to no community spread, that we have relaxed these regulations. People have let their guards down against this pretty easily spread virus. And we've had spikes, sometimes moderate, sometimes minor, but sometimes major as well. And at this point, as we're so far into this vaccination process already, and we continue through it, and there seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel, and the process and the timeline is looking like it's starting to speed up, that's not the time to get extra relaxed with these regulations and put the cart before the horse, so to speak, and say, well, it looks like this is all coming to an end. Let's accelerate that end and lift the mask order. It has been shown throughout this pandemic that wearing masks, keeping your distance, washing your hands regularly has helped prevent the spread of COVID-19. And while we're still waiting to get everybody vaccinated, it's frankly irresponsible for these state leaders and other leaders as well to start lifting some of these basic health orders that have been saving lives throughout this pandemic and preventing the spread of COVID-19.
So this was the tweet from Ohio's Governor Mike DeWine. When Ohio gets down to 50 cases per 100,000 people for 2 weeks, all health orders will come off. And they've used that pretty much as a standard throughout this entire pandemic on how he was going to, impact or make some of the decisions that have been made throughout the pandemic, is looking at those numbers. So that's what the governor of Ohio is saying. Of course, they're not there just yet, though.
Yeah, and it's nice to have regulations in place that are based off of the fluctuations in numbers, so that you can relax some things and help some of these businesses out and help some of these people out when things are looking better, without necessarily lifting everything and having it be a free-for-all. But I think lifting the mask order at this point in time, this is something we can ask more medical experts. I know we're going to have Dr. Faust on the show on Monday from Oakland County and get their thoughts on exactly why this may or may not be extremely irresponsible, instead of just getting my opinion on it. But I think at this time it's too early. And we're still so far into this process. We're so close to the end of it. This is something that could potentially be catastrophic in these states and other states in spreading COVID-19, or at least messing up the momentum that we have in beating this virus.
So, of course, you can always find the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com, click on coronavirus, and there at the tab we post the latest headlines each and every morning, but also you'll also find the links at the top of the page there for various entities and organizations for you to be able to try to find some of these orders and this information for yourself as well. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we have a good lineup for you on this Friday. Excited to talk to our first guest, Tyler. We've all been cooking a lot more during the pandemic, and when we come back, cooking as therapy. We'll be talking about that after this break.
The only way to beat COVID-19 is to face it.
You can't get too comfortable.
You can't forget the danger.
Wear the mask. Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Wash your hands.
Keep a safe distance.
Especially in the next few months.
You know we'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
Someday.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But not yet.
But not yet.
Consider virtual gatherings for the holidays.
Curbside food orders.
Grocery delivery.
And shopping local. Shop local.
And especially shopping local.
Let's beat this virus. We can if we face it together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together. Together.
For the latest information, visit oakgov.com/COVID.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries. But you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you back with us on this Friday morning. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe. For those that may be joining us for the very first time, this show grew out of the COVID-19 crisis. It was about a year ago. This time, right? End of March, though, you guys started the show.
Yeah, it was closer to the end of March that we began the show. I believe it was March 23rd off the top of my head, because we had the State of the Communities, and that was the day that the first two cases that night, as we were doing that program, the first two cases in Michigan were reported. That next Monday was the stay-at-home order going in place. So I believe it was later, or it was 2 weeks after that on that Monday. So I believe that the next week after the State of the Communities, we didn't have anything going. We were trying to figure out what we were going to do with this and giving some basic updates right here in the studio with Dave, with Chief Flynn, with Steve Kaplan, the township supervisor. And then the following week, middle of that week, we began the Megacast.
And here you are, a year later.
A year later, we're still going strong, Ronnie, yes.
But part of this has to do, too, there's still so much information, and it changes constantly. I mean, we're doing this show each and every day, and it's even hard for us to keep up with some of the information as it changes as well. But the other goal of this show as well is to talk to so many people. We've all been directly impacted by COVID-19, and it's changed how we live and how we go about our day every single day. And so we try to bring you interviews with people throughout the community as we all continue to navigate COVID-19. And of course, one of the biggest things in the beginning, we couldn't go out to eat. So we're all forced to kind of go back to the basics. Remember way back in the beginning, you couldn't find yeast. Everyone was making bread. Yeah,
everyone was making their homemade bread. I remember early on when restaurants were first shutting down, it was so bad, and they were all trying to adjust to doing carryout that we actually, and I'll pop this up on our screen real quick for those watching. It's on our homepage on civiccentertv.com. We started this thing called the Carryout Club, where we invited local businesses to provide us some information on their restaurant and direct links to information about carry out from those restaurants. And we still have that up on our website, so people can still support some of these local businesses with carry out if they're not comfortable going back to in person. A lot of these businesses are still doing that.
Well, for those that do love to cook, I'm cooking challenged. I will admit, I am cooking challenged. I want to become better. I just don't have the patience for cooking. But I like to eat what's left at the end.
Yeah, of course. I can cook if I really am putting my mind to it and I'm focusing on it. And I just want to get something done and really focus on, I want to cook this, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But otherwise, I keep it very basic as well.
But with that, let's bring in Julie Ohana. She is with the Culinary Art Therapy, because cooking is a therapy. Julie, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Ronnie. Thanks for having me. Hi, Tyler.
Hello.
So it's safe to say you have a love for food.
I do. I definitely have a love for food. Always have. I remember as a little kid cooking in the kitchen with my mom and my grandma, and really loving the food, but more than just the food, it was loving the atmosphere and loving the people that I was with and the people that I was feeding and the people that I was sitting down at the table with, and every aspect about it.
And because it is more than the food, it's about the memories that are being made as you're cooking that food. But what's this been like for you in the middle of the pandemic?
It's really been incredible, I have to say. Tyler, listening to you talk about, what happened a year ago, I think March 13th will live in infamy in my mind. That was the first day we got the text message from, my kids' school saying there was a case and the whole world shut down as we knew it. And shortly after was the fear of running out of yeast and flour.
What was that? Where did that come from,
I think people, everybody was at home. Nobody was eating out, and people it was a combination of this fear of, what am I going to do with myself, my time, and also I have to eat and I'm not going out to restaurants. So I think those two things together made for this perfect storm of a new love and introduction to people's kitchens, which for me was nothing new, but I recognize that for so many others, it really was something new.
Yeah, we have our kitchen, we have double ovens, and I think we've used that second oven like once. I mean, in 15 years that we've owned our house, so.
I have to say, I have a double oven too, and I cook all the time, and I rarely use my second oven, not because I don't want to use it, but I plan accordingly so I'm not overwhelming myself. So don't be too hard on yourself, Ronnie, for not using that second oven.
So as someone that you've had this long time love with food and the experience in the kitchen, are you seeing more and more people have developed that passion coming out of the crisis?
Yes, I think more and more people have realized they've turned to their kitchens at first out of necessity. And then I think out of necessity came a form of entertainment and just occupying themselves because, during lockdown and quarantine, people were home. And for those people fortunate to have a roof over their head and a kitchen in their home, it was a natural sense of entertainment and a way to occupy themselves. And my hope is, from what I was starting to see, people are realizing more and more that that really is a form of being able to help themselves, to do something that was a good form of entertainment, but there was also a purpose to it. We all have to eat. Hopefully people learn that they can do something for themselves that's healthy, that feels good. It's that mind-body connection, that there really is more to it than just occupying your time.
So Julie, a year into this, are we starting to get away from spending so much time in our kitchens now?
I think the sourdough craze has maybe calmed down a little bit. There's not quite as much banana bread being made as there was a year ago or 6 months ago even. But I think people are really starting to realize, even for those who were a little bit scared of it maybe in the beginning, that they can do it. There is a way. I really do believe that anybody can cook, even for people who it's really not a passion of theirs like it is for me. I think if somebody makes the time and they have an open mind for it, they can learn that they really can cook too. It's about setting yourself up for success, doing it in a way that isn't too overwhelming and too scary and off-putting, but doing it in a way that really works for you and for your family.
But of course, one thing that you're using food for as well is it's a form of therapy. How can a parent bring other members of their family into the kitchen to help them with their life outside of the kitchen?
So absolutely. So again, it's not necessarily about the food as much as it is about the act of cooking. So, you mentioned a family or a parent with their kids. Great example. So often the natural dynamic, the natural order of things is that the parent is the one with control and the say-so to a child's life. And the child, they have to go along with it. They don't really have so much power and control. But in the kitchen, the roles can be reversed a little bit. And when somebody works with me and they have a sense of being able to have that pointed out and to say, okay, mom or dad, it's not going to be you calling the shots right now. Let's let, little Jimmy, who's 8 years old, let's let him decide what's going to go in the salad tonight. He gets to have that say-so. With the appropriate tools, he gets to chop and, cut up those veggies that go in the salad and make the decisions. And I think parents can slowly realize that they can help empower their kids to have more confidence, be able to problem solve, have better communication, really, build them up in the kitchen. And then hopefully those life lessons really do transfer over to so many other areas in their lives.
Julie Ohana with us here on the Megacast. She's with Culinary Art Therapy. Julie, we've seen an explosion of some of these cooking shows through, I'd say, the past 5-10 years. Have those helped open up the thoughts behind, or I guess the intimidation? Let's just say it. Some of us are intimidated in the kitchen. So have those shows helped people get back into the kitchen, or do they kind of foster that intimidation again? Because you're like, I can't do that. And some of these shows have kids that are 8, 9, and 10 years old.
Right, for sure. I think in general, there's been, over the last 5-10 years, there's been this explosion of food culture. You see it on Instagram and watching all these, Food Network TV shows and cooking shows. People have a fascination and a love for food, whether they're doing the cooking or they're just doing the watching. I think there's an openness now to people to recognize that there really is this whole world around food culture. And I think that has definitely helped propel my business with people's willingness and open-mindedness to think of something new. Just as I'm sure decades ago, people once thought art therapy and music therapy, dance therapy, those things sounded so foreign once upon a time, and now they've really become more mainstream. And I'm hoping that the same will be true for culinary therapy down the road.
So when you are approached by a family, what is your discussion around trying to use food as a therapy?
So my background is in social work. I'm not a trained chef. I'm not a professional cook in any way. I'm just somebody who loves the kitchen and loves cooking. I'm a social worker, and so much of my practice is rooted in that social work foundation. So as I would approach any other client in my practice, the first thing I always do is get a sense of who is this client, what are they looking for, what are their goals, and really help to build a session and an experience around their needs. There's no one size fits all. We're all different. We all have different goals in life and different issues that we want to explore. And this is no different. I really try to meet the client where they're at.
And is there a particular age group, or it's open for everyone?
It's definitely open for everyone. I've worked with families with kids as young as a couple years old, all the way to seniors in their 80s and 90s. And there's something for everybody. What we do and how we do it looks a little different, whether we're sitting, standing at the cooktop, at a table in a conference room, or, your kitchen table. There's a way to bring elements of cooking into the lives of anyone at all ages.
How is that working in the middle of the pandemic when we're supposed to be socially distanced from one another?
Right. So before the pandemic, I did have individual sessions with people over Zoom, and it works. It's surprisingly, it works. But I never worked on such a large scale with groups and families over Zoom like I have this past year. And I really have been blown away. I think, especially right now, we're all so much craving that connection with people that even when it's like this over a screen, we'll take it. We cling to it, and it works. Nothing is ever as good as, standing next to somebody in their kitchen and really looking them in the eye and being with them in that moment. But I've really learned to embrace, and I think so many of my clients as well have learned to embrace, this works. Right now, this is the medium that we have, and we're going to make it work.
I could see this working on so many different levels, as like couple counseling, marriage counseling, or again, it's like you said, family counseling, especially with so many kids stressed out right now. And it's so hard to get them to open up and talk to adults. So if you can do it over food, it's a little bit easier.
Absolutely. There's something about food that I think tends to kind of put people a little bit more at ease and relaxed a little bit, and definitely more willing to open up. I call it culinary therapy because I'm a social worker, my background is in clinical experience, but I really believe that this practice benefits everyone. I mean, I also believe that traditional therapy can benefit anyone, but we all have to cook. We all have to feed ourselves. I've done a lot of really amazing group experiences for people who they're not necessarily looking for therapy per se. They're just looking for a connection. They're looking to come together, and food certainly brings us together.
So, Julie, how does it work? Do you have a pre-planned meal that you're cooking together, or is it just you're in your kitchen, they're in their kitchen, and let's mix it all together and see what comes out at the end?
So again, because I'm working, every client, every group, every individual session is tailor-made for that experience. Part of the process is when I get to know somebody and finding out what are their goals, what are their food likes, what are their food allergies, what are their food memories. If somebody tells me that they have amazing memories associated with meatloaf that they remember making in their mother or their grandparents' kitchen, I might try and tap into some of that to really help elicit some connection and some memory. So after speaking with the client, that's when we determine together what is a menu that's going to work for them, and then we go through it together.
This really is fascinating to me. Now, you started this prior to the pandemic, though, right?
Yes.
Is this something that is happening more across the country?
For sure. I think, again, because we're home and the kitchen is such a natural thing to take to, we have those tools at our disposal, and I think people really have leaned into them and utilized them, which I'm thrilled about. And, I think people are realizing that there's something to it, that it's not just pandemic entertainment, but it is something lifelong that they can look to for guidance and for entertainment and relaxation, and it's here to stay.
Julie Ohana with us. She's from Culinary Art Therapy, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. And there are so many benefits that you can take from cooking into your normal life, and so many skills that you can develop, because it is physical and it is touch and it is following an order. And so it kind of provides that little bit of a distraction, as you said, entertainment. But on top of that, it kind of brings in parts of life that we necessarily haven't been experiencing over the last year, because we have been isolated in our quarantine pods or in our homes, or very routine with what we're doing inside one small little bubble unless we absolutely need to be out. What are some of those benefits that we would normally get in regular everyday life that something like this activity or art therapy or exercise therapy, whatever the case may be, some of those benefits that may be had from an activity like this?
Very well put, Tyler. I think there's so many benefits that are helpful in regular everyday life, non-pandemic. But I think during the pandemic, these skills have been, I almost think we've all been on overload with so many of these things that we really can use the help. When you're cooking, you don't even necessarily realize it, but you're working on communication. You're working on problem-solving skills. You're working on, one of my favorite parts is the ability to be mindful, to be in the moment, to really focus on the here and now. Ronnie mentioned earlier, she doesn't have patience for cooking. Patience is something that you are practicing when you're cooking. I know as a mom, my patience has been put to the test this last year, and being in the kitchen really reminds me of that, and reminds me how to be more mindful of being patient. How to communicate to one another while we're cooking together or not. It's, what do you want for dinner? Does this sound good, or does this sound good? What are your likes? It gets people talking. All of these skills are so crucial right now, but these are life-lasting skills that post-pandemic, people need to be able to utilize these things, and hopefully utilize them and do them well for their whole lives.
I know that you do offer individual, group, family, and corporate sessions. If someone is interested in learning more, how can they reach out to you?
For sure. Definitely visit my website, culinaryaarttherapy.com. My email is listed on there. I'm on Instagram as well, and Facebook, and happy to speak with anybody however they find me.
Well, Julie, happy cooking to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's been great talking to you, and what a great use of your talents on both sides, your therapy, but also your love for cooking. So again, Julie Ohana with us. She is with the Culinary Art Therapy. Please check out her services, especially if your family needs help right now, because while we are coming to the end of the COVID-19 crisis, it's still going to be with us for quite some time, as well as the effects of this will be sticking with us as a community, as well as on a family level as well. Julie, thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, Kelly Woodley is with us, property manager at Orchard Mall. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Great to have you with us here on the Megacast. You can always catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon, Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15 on Comcast 99 on AT&T. You can tune us into the radio if you're out driving around, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And today we are also live streaming today's edition of the Megacast on the Orchard Mall's Facebook page. And we want to say thank you to them. And with that, let's go ahead and bring in Kelly Woodley. She is the property manager over at the mall. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for having me back.
So with someone who has connections with the retail world, a day like today must be an exciting day.
It's like Christmas, Hanukkah, every holiday put together in one.
So as we all know, we are the restrictions are being eased just a tidbit here in the state of Michigan, but every little inch matters to the business owners. Kelly, tell us what's going on over at the mall, because you have so many different businesses in the mall that, you know, reach so many of these, companies that need this help right now.
We do. It's been a tough year, but today we're here. It's Friday. The sun is shining. Restrictions are getting a little bit lighter, and I think we're all starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So while I thank everyone for their support this past year, we're thrilled to see restaurants now able to operate indoor dining up to 50% starting today. Retail will also be 50% starting today. And that's exciting. Like you said, every inch matters, every square foot matters, and the more of our customers, shoppers, and friends that we can safely welcome back in, we're all just thrilled, over the moon.
Because, it could be one sale a day or 5 sales a day, but that adds up over time, and that helps support the local entities that are in our backyard to get them through this pandemic. So anything going on this weekend?
So much going on this weekend. I was thrilled when I got the call to join you today, because right now we're right in the middle of Tapper's Ultimate Wedding Weekend. So that's now through Sunday. And, if you're thinking of getting engaged or upgrading a ring or just adding to your collection, they have so many special sales and wonderful pieces that you can go look at. So many sales. How much time do I have? Some of our boutiques are having sales. They're up to 90% off at Guys and Gals at some of their winter merchandise, but they're also quickly getting in the spring merchandise. So lots of really great finds in there. The retail merchandise has changed a little bit to adapt with our trends, and now you're seeing a lot more of the cozy leggings, and I think they're called joggers these days. My teenage daughter would be embarrassed of me, but
I know, because all of a sudden skinny jeans and side parts are out, and you're like, what?
Right. Don't look at my side part.
I know, I have a side part today too. Kelly, how's it been for some of these retail stores that sell clothing? Because, a lot of times this would be the time that I would buy a lot of things for next year, because it's like you said, you can get such great sales, and there's nothing better than next year opening your closet and forgetting you bought something, but it's brand new and you need it and you can use it, and it's winter again and you got such a good deal on it. But what was the inventory like for some of your retail outlets because of the supply chain during the pandemic?
It's been different. I think for all of us, the unknown has been the biggest challenge. But what I've said this whole past year is we have some of the strongest and most adaptable retailers. So they've quickly adapted, and they're bringing in the stuff that we all still want and need. Like the joggers that I mentioned, and they're adapting with the changes as well. But that being said, they still are ready as soon as we can go back to all of our events and weddings and bar mitzvahs, and they'll have those items for you as well. But they've changed. They're tough, and they're ready to get you whatever you need for any situation.
Well, it is a good time to shop on those winter clearance deals. What about some of the other businesses over there? The great thing about the mall, Orchard Mall, for those that haven't been, is you have such a diverse network of businesses, and some are, kind of that outdoor feeling, some are more indoor, but there is something for everyone over there.
There is. We have, like I mentioned, some of our restaurants. We have fashion, we have jewelry, we have premier pet supplies, so everything you need and want for your pets. And speaking of pets, I'm excited that tomorrow, Saturday, at the mall from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., Detroit Dog Rescue will be with us. They're having their first live adoption event since the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm thrilled that they picked our location, and they're bringing us all the puppies. They have over 20 puppies available right now, which is a lot for them, and they have some large dogs available too. So I encourage everyone, if you're still looking for that pandemic pet, there are some fabulous dogs that need home, and my friend Christina at Detroit Dog Rescue would be excited to see you.
We love Christina, and who doesn't love puppies? Like, if you're just not having a good day, go over there and just play with the puppies. It's
right.
The little puppy breath and I love puppies.
Right. So you can go see the puppies, go try on engagement rings at Tappers, go get a bite to eat now that the restaurants have a little bit more room.
I will say, if you're a dude and you just started dating someone, that's like a win-win-win over there. Like, number one, hey, let's go get lunch. Oh, look, there are puppies. Oh, let's stop in the jewelry store. And it's like, you make any girl happy.
Take me.
Right?
I mean, no, my husband can take me. I wasn't signing up for anything.
Hey, DDR, are they bringing any merchandise to sell?
Of course. They always have their merchandise with them, and every dollar spent on their merchandise goes right to the dogs of Detroit. And what I told Christina the last time I saw her was, I love their merchandise because it's really good quality, and that's something that's always been important to her. So it's not like you're buying a scratchy t-shirt because you want your donation money to go toward a good cause. You're actually getting good quality merchandise and supporting the dogs of Detroit as well.
What about some of the restaurants?
Our restaurants are ready. They're excited to see people and have them inside. They also adapted to the change this past year and have done a lot of their business as carryout. So it's like now we can all open our doors and have our friends back to our homes. They feel the same way about their restaurant. They're excited to have you in and have that personal experience back again.
Kelly Woodley joining us from the Orchard Mall here on the Oakland County Megacast. I'm sorry, I just forwarded the wrong image to you. I forwarded your own image back. Anyway, with these regulations that are being relaxed at the state level, looking at the Orchard Mall, unlike a lot of other places, a lot of these businesses have figured out a way to survive throughout the pandemic. You mentioned earlier how their adaptation throughout this pandemic has been amazing to you and to many people that are regular customers of those businesses as well. With these regulations starting to be relaxed, does that kind of seem like a bit of a moment of exhaling to them as they can see kind of a light at the end of the tunnel while still being cautious and still knowing that things can go back, but still also looking forward and saying this might be the sign that we have survived this?
I think so, and just psychologically, it's almost like the change of the season. Like the sun is coming out again, and brighter times are ahead. And winter in Michigan can be difficult, and I think winter in Michigan during a pandemic was stressful for all of us, and for these retailers, these mom and pop local retailers that put their heart and soul and their livelihood into their business. It was a very, very difficult time. So yes, it is certainly like a breath of fresh air and the sun coming out again. And I can assure you that they have been very adaptive, and they're all very cautious as well. And they do recognize that with these lifting of the restrictions, there are safety measures that have to be taken very seriously, because the last thing they want to do is go back into the dark days of winter and be unable to see their customers and to have that experience. So they'll do everything they can to keep people safe and comfortable and healthy.
With us right now is Kelly Woodley over at Orchard Mall. With that, Kelly, how's it going for some of your businesses? I know that you have it used to be the grocery store, but Planet Fitness. Are they back open? How are they doing right now?
They are. They're back open, and they've also put all of the safety measures in place, and they're starting to see the traffic pick up. Everyone is socially distanced and working out and wearing their masks, and I think part of keeping us all healthy is making sure that we're still moving our bodies. So Planet Fitness is open. I think the restriction gets increased to 30% capacity today. With that, True Martial Arts has also opened for indoor classes, and they do a lot of classes for our youth in the community. They do after-school programming, and I think that's another thing that's been missing these past couple of months, and it's just very important to keep that structure and enrichment in our kids' lives. And I've just been thrilled to see those kids back in the mall and lining up for martial arts. It's been great.
So are you back in your office now?
I am today. I'm still working quite a bit from home because we're trying to space out who's coming in and out of our office, but I'm trying to get out at least once a week so that I can get out to the properties and see the tenants and customers and get a little bit of socialization and interaction myself. So today I'm out.
Right, because what's it been like when you're working from home, but you're also balancing your home life with your work life? So to even be able to get out one day, 2 days a week, is it helping you? Is how you're working as well?
Yeah, it's been great. I have been very fortunate to work for a company that quickly adapted and quickly sent us all home and got us everything that we needed technology-wise, and to keep us safe and healthy, and also to keep connection with each other. But sure, one of my favorite parts of my job is getting out and going to the properties and going to see these business owners. And, I don't want to sit at home while they're all in the mall working just as hard as they have been. I want to be there for them too. So it is making me much happier to have some sunshine back in my life.
I wonder, as we all start to get back into our routines that we once knew them, the one thing that was always so popular wherever you work, whichever place, is like that, group candy dish. Like you would, after Halloween, everyone brings in their leftover candy. Sure. After Easter, you buy it, it's 50% off. I wonder, is that going to go away? Or are we going to be like...
It's over.
It's gone. Ronnie, say goodbye.
Say goodbye. Because a lot of times what I would do is wait for the day after sales, especially like Valentine's Day or something, and everything goes 50, 75% off, and buy a ton of it, and then you keep it in your office and people come in, they talk to you. Because at one time, I even opened up a full coffee bar. We had a sign that we had open and close on. You could come in, make coffee and tea, and it was just a way for me to try to get the agents to come up to my office and talk to me. I'd be like, hey, can I make you a coffee? Or I have chocolate, I have cookies, so, but I guess that's going away.
Well, you can still do anything wrapped, I think. I think that's a safe bet.
Sure.
Kelly Woodley with us here on the Megacast. She's the property manager for Orchard Mall. Kelly, another minute or two here with you on the show. Anything we didn't ask maybe that you want to touch on before we say goodbye?
I think it's always super important to us that you shop local and you support the community that you're in. Another thing that's going on right now is the Best of Our Detroit magazine. And, I thank you for supporting these businesses the past year, but one extra cherry on top would be to go to ourdetroit.com and cast a vote for your favorite businesses. And it doesn't have to be Orchard Mall. I would say that for any business that you frequent in the community, just do what you can to support these people because they sure do appreciate it.
So if a business does get recognized in our magazine, how much does that help their business?
Quite a bit. I think it's another step to getting your name out there and getting that recognition, and it's important, even if it doesn't boost sales right away, just to say, wow, we accomplished this in one of the most difficult years in business, in retail, in dining, in any industry. It's hard right now. So I think, just having the support of the community is so meaningful.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Kelly, always great having you with us.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's nice to see you, and on a sunny Friday nonetheless.
Exactly. And maybe we'll take Trixie over to Premier Pet Supply tomorrow and see Christina and all her good volunteers over there as well. One thing that's great about Detroit Dog Rescue is if you have a rescue dog, they know how to interact with rescue dogs. So, Kelly, we have a rescue mutt. She's like a lab schnauzer, we think. We don't know. But she gets people, like when she meets people, you can't make eye contact with her. It's, I don't know, something weird went with her. But we took her the last time and she got to meet Christina and the entire team. But they're so well accustomed to trying to work with some of these dogs. So they do a great job on that. So swing by, say hi to everyone, buy a sweatshirt, buy a t-shirt, support them, and then get some snacks for your dogs over at Premier Pet Supply. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, still a lot to get to in the second hour of the show. When we return, we'll be speaking with Dave Dulio, our favorite professor over at Oakland University. This is the Megacast.
The only way to beat COVID-19 is to face it.
You can't get too comfortable.
You can't forget the danger.
Wear the mask. Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Wash your hands.
Keep a safe distance.
Especially in the next few months.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
Someday.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But not yet.
But not yet.
Consider virtual gatherings for the holidays.
Curbside food orders.
Grocery delivery.
And shopping local. Shop local.
And especially shopping local.
Let's beat this virus. We can if we face it together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together. Together.
For the latest information, visit oakgov.com/COVID.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now, it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Perry tested positive for COVID-19. Emma was exposed to a friend who's positive. Willa's waiting on test results. After any contact with COVID-19, or if you test positive, stay home for at least 10 days. If you live with others, keep your distance and wear a mask. Help Michigan contain COVID-19. Visit michigan.gov/contain-COVID.
Great to have you with us here on this second hour of the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios with Mr. Tyler O'Keefe. Politics. One thing I will say that doesn't change, politics. They can't get along.
Never. They don't want to. They just don't want to at this point.
It's like a sideshow.
It is.
With us now on the show, Dave Dulio, professor of political science and director of the Center for Civic Engagement over at Oakland University. Always good having you with us. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm wondering if they've finished. The clerks had an all night in D.C. trying to read the entire bill that the senator forced them to read. But you know what? We should be reading what's in this bill. I don't know if having the clerk stay up all night and actually doing it is the right way to get it out to the public, but...
Or how many senators were actually listening.
Right. And how many members of the public. That's what they should have done. It should have been the senators reading it. All of them. And they had to stay. Like, you couldn't pop in, read your one passage, and then pop out. No. You need to all sit in there the entire time while
we're going to do this popcorn style. We're going back to second grade. Everybody's got to read a sentence, and we're not stopping until everyone's read the whole thing.
Of course, we're talking about, and of course, we're talking about President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion bill. Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin forced the Senate to begin reading all 628 pages, and the clerks were reading it in the overnight hours.
Right, and Senator Johnson, his point is a fair one. That look, before we vote on this thing, let's read it. Let's put it out there for public consumption. The fact that it happened overnight sort of stands in the way of that. But his point was simply that this is being billed as a COVID-19 relief bill, but there's a lot more in it than you might think. It's more than the $1,400 checks that are going to go out to most Americans. It's more than the extended unemployment benefits. It's more than the stuff that's in there for schools and small businesses. There is a lot more in there. So he wanted to have that put into the record. But it really amounts to nothing more than I won't call it it's not a trick, but it's sort of just a procedural hurdle that is normally bypassed. The bills that come up before the House and Senate are usually dispensed with, or they dispense with the reading of the language, although any senator or any House member can force that at any time, and Senator Johnson used the rules to get what he wanted.
Well, and it got him a headline, and that's what he wanted. But on the backside of this as well, as we're talking about, we have to remember this is taxpayer money. And I love how politicians are throwing around the trillion, the billion-dollar numbers, the million-dollar numbers like it's free money, but this is going to be paid back at some point in time, and it's going to be paid back by us, the taxpayers, and this is going to be generational in order to repay this debt. And so I think he did get what he wanted, and that was that discussion.
Yes, and you're seeing it happen a bit more in the press, where the contents of this bill are being brought up more, and I would probably say most importantly, those that one could argue over whether or not it's really COVID relief or whether it's another agenda item.
And we've seen that in some of the previous bills as well that passed. The one was over 5,000 pages long. And one night I couldn't sleep, and you start going through it, and it's just crazy, the pork that they are throwing in some of these relief bills.
Well, look, this is nothing new. It's
right.
Also not just a Democratic thing. Democrats do it, Republicans do it, whoever's in the majority, whoever's got who's ever got the levers of power, they can and do put what some would call unrelated material into another bill. And it's a way of getting something through the process when it otherwise might not. It's a tried and true measure, tried and true tactic of congressional legislating.
So we saw Trump came out of hiding to speak at the Conservative Political Action Conference. What do you think? I was kind of surprised. It was overwhelming, I guess, is underwhelming. I expected more from him.
Well, I don't think anybody's ever said that. Put those two words close together in Donald Trump's time in politics: underwhelming and Trump. I don't think those ever go together, right? Right. But I'm glad you went out on that limb and did it, because I would probably agree with you, right? I think the biggest news that came out of that was him saying that he did not think that the Republican Party should split and go and form another party. And you've seen some rumblings of that. Even here in Michigan, there's an individual out there who wants to start a Patriot Party. And he can do that. He can get enough signatures, I would imagine, to get it official status. But where it goes from there is another question. And I think the president, former president, hit the nail on the head when he said, look, if we splinter off, we're handing Democrats power. And he's correct, but that doesn't always mean that that's the course that will be followed.
Yeah, I think the next 5 years, it's going to be very interesting to see where the Republican Party goes and how, what are they going to focus their attention on to try to unite and bring people back to the Republican Party.
Well, and I think that's the most important political question that we have right now. It's not the most important question for governing. It's not the most important problem that's facing the country. So I don't want the listeners and viewers to get the wrong idea here, what I'm trying to say. But it's from a purely political standpoint, I think it's the most important one that we're going to watch play out, as you say, over years, right? And Republicans have a couple of choices in the way that I look at it anyway, right? They can continue down the Trump path, and there's reasons to do so. He brought many new voters to the Republican Party. Some of them had not voted previously. Some of them used to be Democrats. So he brought people to the party. He got 74 million votes in 2020. Nobody's gotten that many before on the Republican side, right? There's also reasons to go in a different direction. And chief among those is Donald Trump is the biggest boogeyman that Democrats have. And when he is present, it helps Democrats. And you can see that in places like Oakland County, also Kent County, where this sort of suburban slide has occurred for Republicans over the last several election cycles. And it's because people don't, in the last couple cycles, people have rejected Trump. They haven't rejected Republican principles. Now, and my evidence for that is simply that you look at John James and his candidacy. In both Oakland and Kent counties, he got more votes than Donald Trump did, which is rare. You don't see it too often where somebody a couple notches down the ballot does better than the presidential candidate.
I will say, if you would have told me 10 years ago that Oakland County would start to swing Democrat, I would have been like, no way. But there are a lot of factors in that, and I think one being the death of L. Brooks Patterson.
Well, I think you're 100% right that 10 years ago, if you'd have said Oakland County is now a Democratic county, everybody would have looked at you funny. And I think it is a county that has changed. It is continuing to change demographically. We've seen it change for the better part of 20 years. That has been part of the shift. I think that what I would call candidate effects or campaign effects are also part of that. And I think you're right to put Brooks Patterson in that bucket. I think that he was a larger than life figure. He was somebody who if there was a party machine in modern times, Brooks Patterson had it. And he used it incredibly effectively. And he also governed effectively. I mean, the successes that he had on the economic front leading the county can't be argued with. There's a lot you could argue with about Brooks Patterson, but his economic track record is not one of them. And the Democratic Party, I think, has taken control of Oakland County, and it's pretty easy to see why. Dave Coulter as county executive. Democrats have a majority on the county commission. Trump lost Oakland County. Biden won it, right? Gary Peters, of course, wins the county. So, and it's more than that. In 2020, every countywide seat that was up was won by Democrats, except sheriff. And it's really interesting to contrast that with Macomb County, which has flipped, which is exact opposite trend. Every state, a countywide election in Macomb County was won by Republicans, except sheriff. So it's this incredible mirror image. And it used to be that Oakland County was this rock-ribbed Republican area, and Macomb County, our neighbors to the east, were home of the Reagan Democrats. It was a Democratic county, blue-collar county, and now it's just the opposite.
It is fascinating to see how politics plays out long term and within our region, because there's so much focus right now on what's happening in D.C. Let's jump into Biden. We're now seeing more and more states, as the numbers continue to decrease, lift the restrictions, and some going as far as lifting the mask mandate. How do you think that's going to play into Biden in his next 3 months?
Well, I think we're already seeing that play out a little bit when he referred to the decisions made by the governors of Texas and Mississippi as Neanderthal thinking, and which is quite a statement, if you ask me, right? I mean, I think that, and you contrast that with the governor of California, who not only he literally doubles down on masks, where now he says you need to wear 2 masks when you go outside or when you are in public, right? So it's this incredibly stark contrast in how governors are approaching this. And the president doesn't have a whole lot of power to intervene. And we've seen that for a year with calls either for President Trump to do more and have this national strategy, or when he did try to do something that was overarching, other governors said, you can't do that, Mr. President, you don't have the power to do that. The truth is we have this federalist system that gives a lot of power to the states. The president doesn't have a whole lot of authority to do that. And you see this play out when over the summer and in the campaign, candidate Biden said he would favor a national mask mandate. Well, president can't do that, right? He doesn't have the power. And what we saw when he came into office, right, was that he said there's a mandate when you're on federal land, when you're on federal property, which is as far as his power goes. It is far, however, from a national mask mandate.
With that, we have to talk about Governor Whitmer and her decision to give the payout to Gordon. These payouts are not new. They've been happening for quite some time, and amongst different, elected leaders, they've used them in the past. But her lack of transparency on this issue, I think, is going to come back to bite her in the butt.
Well, this one seems problematic, right? I mean, I don't know what is in those agreements. Nobody does, except for a few in Lansing, right? But it's the optics of it that pose the problem. Where if you have a non-disclosure agreement, if you bar somebody from talking about something, the public sort of has this natural reaction of distrust and saying, okay, what are you hiding? Right? I mean, it's never viewed as a positive. It's always seen as a negative.
Well, because we know there's typically something going on behind the scenes on this. And I will say, I was involved in a lawsuit when I worked at Channel 7. We FOIA'd the severance records, some of these secret deals that were being made at some of these entities. And, back then there was a lot of talk about, hey, we need to start making a bill and get some laws passed here in the state of Michigan to not, or if you're going to use this and it's taxpayer funded money, then there needs to be some transparency connected with that. And, it seems like we get these headlines, there's talk about change, but then nothing really happens.
Well, and I don't want to pick on Governor Whitmer or President Biden, but since they're the ones that are in power, we can't help but maybe do that. But both of them, if memory serves, talked in the campaign about being transparent, about being the most transparent administration in history, right? And this just cuts against that. And it's unfortunate that but it's true. And you even see small things at the federal level. The White House is not releasing the visitor logs that they said that they were going to. So it just strikes as hypocritical.
And for Governor Whitmer in this situation, because it's somebody during the pandemic that is so critical to the state's response to COVID-19 and protecting the state from the spread of COVID-19, I think that inflates the situation that much more. And so for his resignation, for Robert Gordon's resignation to have been so sudden, and there have been no information from the governor, no information from Health and Human Services Department alluding even slightly to what reasons may have been behind that, do you think that was more of a detriment to the governor in this situation than just giving some very basic information like we had a disagreement of opinion on how to move forward with responding to the pandemic?
Well, what's the old phrase? That the cover-up is always worse than the crime.
Precisely.
And I think you're seeing that with recent sort of blips on the radar, and the one that comes to mind is Governor Cuomo, right? I mean, forget the sexual harassment component and the problems that he's rightly facing there, yes. But what appears to be doctoring of records about nursing home deaths. I have to think that at the time, if he would have just come out and said, okay, look, this is bad. Maybe we made a mistake with the nursing home policy. We're going to fix it. The deaths are mounting, because now what happens is now he's on the hook for those deaths and he's covering it up.
It's always the cover up. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many times I have told people, look, just come out, own up to it. And look, we've seen it with Chief Craig with the Detroit Police Department, where he's came out himself and announced issues within the department. And as reporters, we're all looking like, did you know about this? Like, because a lot of times what will happen is one reporter will know about it, put a FOIA in or make a call, and then they go, okay, it's going to be out. Let's just come clean. But no, there are times that he lays it out. And you know what? You earn respect when you do that.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, honestly, it's like elected officials think that they've got some kind of Teflon or superpower, or that, well, I'm going to be different. They're not going to find out when I do it. Right? Journalists like you guys, you always find out. It comes out. Just own up to it.
And here's the thing too: is they have to remember, they think they're living in this bubble. It is amazing where you find out information. And I can tell you, as someone who was a reporter at one time, you had sources that were at the highest level and at the lowest level. So don't discount everyone that works around you, because usually, too, it's people with the lowest titles that have access to the most information. So we'll see where this goes, but her approval is down a bit slightly, and we'll see how this plays out over the next few weeks. And I think the other big issue that's going to start to plague Whitmer is going to be the nursing homes here in the state of Michigan as well.
Time will tell on that one, and you hope that it's not as bad as what seems to be transpiring in New York.
Right. Well, Dave Dulio with us here on the Megacast. He's the professor of political science and director for the Center for Civic Engagement over at Oakland University. Before we say goodbye to you, anything going on over at the center that you want to share with us?
Oh, there's always stuff going on, so thank you for the opportunity. We're continuing our Civic Engagement office hours virtual series. We've got one March 18th and April 8th. But next week, we're actually doing something a little different where we're partnering with some folks from the Biological Sciences Department, and these folks are going to do a prescribed burn on campus. We have a biological preserve, and it's not as healthy as it should be or could be. And one of the ways to do that, or to improve the health of it, is to actually light it on fire. Not like, big 20-foot flames, but controlled burn on campus to revitalize part of this biological preserve. So we're going to do at noon on Tuesday the 9th, we're going to have a panel discussion about that with the individual that's heading this up, somebody from the National Forest Service, somebody who's the firm that's going to do the burn. It's going to be really interesting. We hear a lot about forest fires out west and in Alaska, and this is part of keeping those bad things from happening. Right, so it's a really interesting topic that a lot of folks around here may not be familiar with. So join us virtually on Tuesday at noon.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Dave Dulio, professor of political science and director of the Center for Civic Engagement over at Oakland University. We always have a good time talking with you, so we appreciate your time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll be joined with the police chief for the city of Keiko Harbor. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the public information officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Parks COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask.
The ball's in your court, Michigan.
89.3 Lakes FM invites you to submit nominations for the Greater West Bloomfield Michigan Week Community Awards, now until Monday, March 8th at 11:59 p.m. Nominate someone you know in the community who is making a difference in Greater West Bloomfield as we celebrate our local volunteers. To learn more and make nominations, visit MichiganWeek.org and join us for the Michigan Week Community Awards May 19th on 89.3 Lakes FM.
Great to have you with us here on the Friday edition of the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios with Mr. Tyler Keefe. As a reminder, you can always catch previous interviews if you're unable to tune in to the full 2 hours of the show just by going to civiccentertv.com. You can click on the Megacast to watch full shows or the on-demand section to catch just individual interviews. And we want to say thank you for all of those that continue to tune in to the show. With us now, our good friend over in Keego Harbor, Chief John Fitzgerald. Thank you for being with us.
It would appear Chief may be muted.
Did I unmute?
Yes, there you are.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, it was like the Golden Globes. I don't know if you guys caught some of them.
I saw a little bit of it.
There were so many technical issues during the Golden Globes because they were Zooming with everyone. And just what you did, so many people were doing that as well. Am I muted? Am I unmuted? Wait, I think we have technical issues. Great to have you with us, Chief.
As long as we fix the technical issues, we're good.
Exactly. And we always say, too, we do, 2 hours a day via Zoom, 5 days a week.
Right.
And really, when you look at the number of interviews we do, we have pretty, I would say.
There's bound to be something that happens, and when there isn't throughout a week, it's a big win. So we'll take it as it is.
So how are things?
It's been pretty good. It's been pretty good with us so far. I think that might be one of the first technical glitches, and it's not a big one.
And on top of that, you're not a cat. Who is that lawyer?
Oh, thank you.
Remember, it went viral. He was in the court proceedings,
yes, Your
and
Honor,
he had
I'm not
the
a cat.
filter. That was like some of the best Zoom interviews ever. So, have you had any of those snafus, Chief? Anything like that happen to you?
My wife and I actually started playing around with the filters on our phone the other night to see what happened, and it's like, wait, I can't get this off. Oh no, I can't change this one, and it took a little bit to figure them out.
Right, and in the meantime, it's okay to do it with family and friends, but when you're doing
You don't want to be a cat in court.
well, sometimes you forget to undo those settings.
That's true.
So, hey, how are things going How are things going over there in the big city of Keego?
Things are good in Keego. A little chilly the last couple of days, but as I've said before, we've got a great bunch of citizens, good officers, and a pretty low crime community. It's a good place to live.
We like it. We like living there. Chief, I do have to ask, what's going on out on the lakes? I've seen there's still some ice fishing shanties out, and I'm like, how do those not fall in right now?
I'm not sure. I am no ice expert, and the police department and most other government agencies will not give you, hey, it's clear to go out on the ice or it's not clear to go on the ice. They'll and like we did earlier in the year, we'll put a guideline out about how many inches thick is supposed to be okay for walking on, like 4 inches. But on any of these lakes out here, you don't know where the shallow spots are and the spring-fed areas are, and it could change. You could be on solid ice, and 2 steps over, you're on something that's going to break through. And at this time of the year, when you have a few warm days and then a few cold days like today, because it looks like it's really frozen back over again because of the last couple of days. But I don't think personally that I would be taking a chance out on the ice. I know there's some dedicated ice fishermen, and they want to get out there the last few times of the year. But be safe. Always carry a couple of screwdrivers or hand claws or whatever it is in case you do go through to help pull yourself out of there, because it could be a while before any rescue personnel could get to you, because they have to be sure they're not going through as they try to get out to you also. And we're going to try, but we have to make sure that we don't lose any more people just trying to make one rescue.
So I believe the last time we talked to you, or we've talked to some of the other local police departments, one of the issues that was happening, and it's not a new crime, but a crime of opportunity, people just leaving their cars unlocked. How are things looking in those general areas right now?
But pretty good. I hope the message was getting out, because we were regularly putting out messages to keep your cars locked. Most in this area, most of the break-ins to cars where they're taking things out of your car are crimes of opportunity. Somebody walking by checks the door handle. If it's unlocked, then they look in, and there's a backpack, there's a camera, there's somebody's cell phone, there's some loose change or a wallet sitting there, and they grab it and go. We do not have I can't think of the last time we had it where somebody actually broke into the car, breaking a window or something like that. But as a reminder, don't leave your purse, your cell phone, your wallet, your cameras, your computers on the car seats or any place they can be seen in there, because it's a temptation. It makes people see it, and you might end up with a broken into car, somebody trying to get it. So just take the stuff in the house with you, cover it up so it's not obvious that something's in there. But so far, we've had a great winter of not having a problem with that in Keego Harbor.
Anything going on with Porch Pirates, or is that kind of quieted down as well?
We haven't had many reports of it. They're still out there. I mean, we hope that there's ways you can put things on your porch to kind of hide the packages as somebody leaves them out there for you. Your Ring doorbell can be good evidence for us if you have it or your neighbor has it. If somebody does do it, it's just another one of those crimes of opportunity. People look around for the easy stuff to do, and a package on a porch is pretty easy to grab onto. So hopefully our patrols in the neighborhoods with our cars out there is a deterrent for one, because the bad guys don't like to see a police car anywhere in their area.
John Fitzgerald with us here on the Megacast. He is the police chief over in the fine city of Keego Harbor. I know that we had Kurt Lawson with West Bloomfield on with us earlier this week, and one of the big things they've been seeing, fraud. These scammers right now, they're so good. How are things going on that front?
I'll probably end up repeating a lot of the same things Deputy Chief Lawson said, and that you'll see on Facebook messages. But if it sounds too good to be true, don't go for it. That's one of the biggest things. And if somebody's asking you to pay them, especially a governmental agency, to pay them in gift cards, then it's going to be a scam. I mean, and there's so many different ways they go about it. They've called and said, your son is being held in jail, and you can pay his bond from there by using whatever Best Buy or Kroger gift cards. You owe the IRS this much money. We're going to put a warrant out for your arrest is another one that goes around. There's a warrant for your arrest for something else. You can pay off that warrant. If they're telling you to go to the store and get gift cards, it's going to be false. No government agency does that. Most government agencies don't even call you. They won't ask you for your information over the phone to identify yourself when they call you. If they don't know who you are when they call you, then it's probably a scam. And if you do, even I'm overcautious with this one. Sometimes my mortgage company will call, or my car loan company will call, and they'll call me and ask for my information. I'll say, you called me, you should have all that already, knowing my number on file. And I'll tell them, look, I don't want to be rude to you, but I'm going to hang up and call the number I have on record. And they go, that's fine. Call us back, and we'll take care of business that way. Then you know who you're calling. But if it's somebody calling you, you have to be extra cautious. They're trying to sneak information out of you that they can use to get at your money, your bank account, or to trick you into doing something.
Some of these emails look so legitimate, and we do these stories all the time. We talk about these scams all the time, and I had one the other day from Amazon and almost clicked on it because it was an update on a purchase that I made, and it was something I didn't actually buy. And then I was like, oh, wait, because the first thing we do is it's sitting in your email on your phone. You're going to click on it from your phone. So I was like, wait a minute. No. And it looked legitimate. And then I went to Amazon on my computer and realized that that was a scam. It was just another one of their scams.
That's right. Email's another way they get you, and they're getting better at it. They're making their emails, their phishing emails to you look better. They're stealing company logos and dropping it right in there to make it look real. And another thing to remember is kind of if you do get burned, if they get a couple $100 out of you, and then they come back for more, which is what happens. Because once they get some out of you, they come back for more. If you've done something where somebody asked you and said you had to pay them something, and you paid them whatever amount it was, and they come back to you for more, then you know it's a scam, because they just think they found an easy mark and they're going to come back and get some more out of you. So don't throw good money after bad money. If you've been burned once, you're not getting any better if they come back for more money. Remember that one too. And once again, call and contact the company yourself, whoever tries to get a hold of you. That's the best way to make sure you're not getting scammed on it.
Chief John Fitzgerald with us here on the Megacast. And Chief, we're coming up to St. Patrick's Day. I was a little surprised that the governor eased the restrictions on some of our restaurants prior to St. Patty's Day. And I know Kegel's not a big area. Mary Donnelly's used to be the spot to go in Kegel Harbor for St. Patrick's Day. Any warnings or anything you want to give out to the public regarding the upcoming green holiday?
The warning is have a good time, but have a responsible good time. Remember, if you're going to go out and celebrate, have a designated driver with you, or make arrangements ahead of time for some other mode of transportation, whether it's a taxi cab, Uber, Lyft. I'm not endorsing any one over the other, but make sure you have another ride. Officers, there's usually extra officers on the road looking for dangerous drivers on that kind of day. We know it's a big day of celebration. We know everybody wants to have fun, and at this point in the whole COVID pandemic, people are going to want to go out if they, a lot of people still won't feel comfortable to go out, but the ones that do are going to want to go out and blow off some steam. Just be careful. Remember, aside from the fact of getting arrested and costing up to $10,000 in lawyers' fees, lost work, fines and costs, and schooling you have to go to, much worse than that is the tragedy that can be caused if you were to injure or kill yourself, a passenger in your car, or even worse, an innocent person who just happened to come across your path on the way home. That's going to be with you for the rest of your life and have dire consequences. And I don't want to really be a downer about St. Patrick's Day. It's my favorite holiday. It's my mom's birthday. Shouldn't have said that. Now people have something to go after me with the scam. They have some inside information, but she was all Irish, and she loved St. Patrick's Day, and it was her birthday. So I celebrate the day myself, but we all want to be careful and either don't overconsume when you're doing it, or make sure you have another ride or a driver.
So last year, for St. Patty's Day, everything shut down just before the big parade in Corktown. I do the 5K every year. I bought a brand new tutu. I was like ready to go, and then I didn't get to wear any of it. So I was cleaning out the basement the other day and came across my box of tutus and all my St. Patrick's Day fun stuff I bought last year and didn't get to wear. I'll have to drop some off at the police department for you guys.
I can say that I don't think I'll ever come across a box of my old tutus anywhere, because there isn't one. But it's a great amount of fun to have if you do that, and hopefully people are going to be able to start having a good time with life again out here soon.
And we want to remind people, because we know so many people are going to want to go back out to the bars on St. Patrick's Day, but you have to remember it's going to be at that 50% capacity. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be the same as years before. So hopefully, Chief, you guys don't get any cause of people being mean, because of the restrictions.
Well, we'll see. We'll have to go back to the patience thing and treat other people respectfully. If you get someplace, I understand there's probably going to be a lot of people that won't go out anyhow, because there's still people that want to stay home and they don't consider it safe to go out. So that'll keep the crowds down a little bit. But when you do get to your favorite St. Patrick's Day restaurant or bar, if there's a line outside, it's because the bar has restrictions from the Department of Health, and they can't change that. They can't go, oh, well, we'll let you in and a few more people. You're going to have to wait your turn in line. So just remember that when you're dealing with other people, that everybody's got to wait their turn, and let's be respectful and good to other people. Just be good to other people.
Exactly. You should get that on a shirt. On a mug. Chief, always great talking with you here on the Megacast. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me on. I enjoy talking to you guys too. You guys have a safe and a happy weekend, and I think it's starting to warm up again soon, isn't it?
Yes. 60 degrees next week, so my husband can get out and start working in the yard.
Perfect.
Oh, right there. You got a job for him already.
Oh, we have plenty of jobs. So, Chief, thank you again for your time.
You're welcome. Take care. We'll see you later.
You too. Happy weekend to you, and be safe to your team as well. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. Just about 20 minutes left in the show, and when we come back, we're going to be talking animation. This is going to be a fun interview. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, Apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3. Wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4. Rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5. Dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6. If you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
The only way to beat COVID-19 is to face it.
You can't get too comfortable.
You can't forget the danger.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask.
Wear the mask. Wash your hands.
Keep a safe distance.
Especially in the next few months.
You know we'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
We'll get back to normal.
Someday.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But not yet.
But not yet.
Consider virtual gatherings for the holidays.
Curbside food orders.
Grocery delivery.
And shopping local. Shop local.
And especially shopping local.
Let's beat this virus. We can if we face it together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together.
Together. Together.
For the latest information, visit oakgov.com/COVID.
Great to have you with us here on the Friday edition of the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Tyler Keefe. You know, Tyler, right now is such a hard time for so many companies, and they really have to rely on video and marketing to get their voices heard during the middle of all this craziness. And we are lucky to have two guys with us here on the show, Andre Foster and Guy Allen. They are co-founders and partners for First Fight, and it's an animation company here in Detroit. Great to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
How'd you two team up?
Andre, you want me to tell him?
It sounds like there's a story behind that laugh.
Well, we've been partners for a long time. We used to work together at a different studio in the city for 10 years at least. So we've known each other for a real long time. And we got to a point in our career where we decided it was smart to just kind of step out and do our own thing. Like I said, we've known and trusted each other for forever. So that's kind of how we started.
So Andre, tell us about your company. What makes the two of you stand out?
Well, I like to think that, what we do as far as animation studio has a little bit of a different style to it. I like to call it swag. So I think with a lot of the studios, animation studios, especially here in Detroit locally, I think what makes us different is, our take on different things and different projects. And I think but mostly all of our clients see that there is a difference between how we approach their problem or how we solve their problem with animation and, and our different spin on it.
So It seemed years ago there was going to be this huge market for animation and other companies such as yours related to the film industry. But then all those tax credits went away and the film industry fizzled out. How have you two been able to market your company without that film industry behind you?
Well, I think, and that was a real big letdown too, because I was really excited about the possibility of doing stuff for, film, or actually more stuff or more content for film. So when that whole thing kind of went away, I was really disappointed. But I think even from then, I think we kind of redefined in terms of how we can show our work and who we can work for. And I think the best thing about, especially the last year, we found that we don't necessarily have to fly out somewhere. We don't have to leave out of our, our state, where we are with the power of Zoom and reaching out to people, which has become way, way better. We've been able to, really just find different markets, different clients who like what we do. And again, like I said, they have different problems that we want to try to solve, and they try to come to us to, put a different spin on it.
Guy, if I can bring you back into the conversation for a moment, what's the talent pool here in the Detroit area for you and your team to try to find people with the skills that you need?
The talent pool is fantastic. I feel we've run into the problem where a lot of these guys end up going to LA. But Andre and I have really been focusing on trying to get into the schools and show some of these younger students, like, you could stay here, you can have a career here in Detroit. There's places like us, and there's a few others where people can go and be creative and actually get a job doing animation. We're sponsoring a class at CCS right now. They've got an amazing entertainment illustration program, an animation program. So we're kind of working with them to let them know, like, hey, you don't have to go to, Nickelodeon or whatever, or Disney in LA. You can work here and do the same type of stuff. So,
yeah.
So is that where the two of you met? What's your background? Where'd you go to school?
Yeah, I went to CCS way back in the good old days. I think I graduated in 2001. I started in illustration there, and Andre was at CCS as well. But I think he might be. He looks great, but he might be a little bit older than me. So
just a little bit.
So what is the future for this industry for people that are right here in Detroit?
Andre or me? Who do you want?
Guy, you can go ahead. You're up.
Well, I think the future's bright. I mean, when COVID hit, it kind of shocked everybody, and things kind of fell off for a little bit. But I think that everybody has learned that we can do everything from home, and we've been blessed that with what we do, we don't have to have like live action crews here and there. People, if they want an animation done, they can come to us, and we can get it done here, fast, cheap. And it's good. I mean, there's endless possibilities with animation. We can do anything. So,
yeah. I wouldn't say cheap though.
Well, I mean, compared to like a full film crew and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andre Foster and Guy Allen with us here on the Megacast. They are co-founders and partners for the Detroit animation studio First Fight. Andre, if we can go back to you for just a second here, what types of skills does it take to be successful in your business?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, doing what we do, it requires a lot of skills and a lot of. You basically have to know a lot of different things. I think at the end of the day, if you really have the passion for this sort of thing, for animation, for design, for anything that any creative endeavor, I mean, definitely having a passion is what you're definitely going to need. And I think too, who you are as a person and how you relate to people, I think that's key too, because nobody wants to work with anybody who's a diva or is really hard to get along with. So I think having people skills and social skills, being able to collaborate with people, I think that's a definite skill that you have to have in this industry.
The younger generation, though, when you say, divas or people, I think of like this younger generation, especially some of the people going into news right now. You're like, wow, you never would have made it in the old school news days. Like, holy cow, they like to go down and complain about everything. It's like, But you guys are a small company. How many people work for you, or do you do a lot of freelancers?
We have a combination of both. We have 5 people that comprise of First Fight, and then we have a lot of, we call them permalancers, people that we use a lot who are freelance, and we have about 2 or 3 of those that we work with. We're pretty small, but we like to think of ourselves as nimble, and we can scale up when we need to, depending on what the project is. But we have the core people that we have is what we really, for the most part, roll with most of the time.
Guy, if we can go back to you for just a second, you had mentioned that you're trying to get into the schools to, open this world up to some of the students and the younger kids. What's it been like? Because what type of equipment and what do they need to be exposed to even get interested in this world?
Yeah, I think it's mostly been at the college level because of things like what you just said. There's definitely, everything we do is digital. So you need to have, the computers and the programs and things like that. We don't do too much traditional hand-drawn, like on pencil or, like pencil and paper. But I could see us in the future doing some of that stuff. We could do some more hands-on traditional, they call it traditional type animation. But for the most part, we've done stuff with, like I said, CCS and Wayne State. And that's kind of our bread and butter, because they do have access to that stuff. But I think if a young person is interested in this type of thing, I think the starting point when they're young is like books, reading up on it, doing research, and just like practicing drawing, because that's a huge part of what we do. It's art and design and animation. It's all entangled together. So,
who are some of the companies you've done work for?
Recently, we just did a big job for Disney Plus, which we're very excited about. We just put that up on our website. We're doing some work with Facebook and Instagram right now. Dave & Buster's has been a main client of ours for years now. We've been working with them. Locally, we've done stuff with Rocket Mortgage, StockX, a lot of the family of companies over there. So we spread it out. We try to do a lot of good things here and there, change up our styles and deal with a lot of different people.
So in some of the work that you're doing, would we find it in a commercial, or are they mainly using your work on their social media platforms?
I would say a lot. It's a mix of both. Dave & Buster's, some of our national brands, that's commercial work. You see it on TV broadcast. Other things like obviously Facebook, Instagram, that's all digital, social platforming stuff. And some of it's on like websites and things explaining who companies are or what they're about, different little things like that.
Andre Foster and Guy Allen with us here on the Megacast. They are co-founders for First Fight. It is a Detroit animation studio. Andre, what advice do you give to young people looking to go into your arena?
I would say just learn as much as you can, and just be open to what this industry has. I think when I first got into this, because what Guy and I went to CCS for was totally different than what we're doing now. But I think over the years, you try to evolve, and then you try to learn as much as you can, and then you just adapt. I think it's still in the same arena of fine arts, but I think by us staying open and being making good relationships with different people and constantly learning, I think that's what's kind of helped us. So what I would say for people who are coming out of school today, I would just say, just stay open and to different ideas and constantly keep learning and evolving, to be a better artist. And
when you say constantly learn, technology is constantly changing. How do you guys keep up with it? I'm like, oh.
Yeah, no, it's almost frustrating because if it kind of feels like when you get one thing down and there's something else, 10 minutes later.
Right.
So it's very hard, but even though the technology changes and it shifts, at the core of what we do is all about the messaging and the story. And I think that as long as we focus on that, no matter how you show it and how you execute it, the core thing is the idea and how well you do it.
Well, we wish the two of you continued success, and we hope to see that this arena continues to grow right here in Detroit. It's like you said, there was that hope a few years ago, and then that kind of went away, but we are starting to see more businesses come into Detroit because the marketing, the market for housing, some of the companies is a little bit cheaper than New York and LA. So we're so great that you guys have decided to stick around.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for being with us, Andre Foster, Guy Allen. They are the co-founders, First Fight. Check out their website. You get to see some of their work. They are a Detroit animation studio and extremely, extremely talented, Tyler.
Yeah, they do great work over there. Their website, very impressive if you want to see some of what they do. And there are a lot of benefits for animation that other video can't bring or that you can add into video. And so it's an interesting piece of the media industry right here in our local area.
Well, it seems we're seeing so much more of it too with social media platforms or training videos for a lot of the companies as well. That's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Want to give a shout out to Jake and Larry behind the scenes for allowing us to get this show up and out to you each and every day. Thank you for tuning in. Stay safe and stay healthy.